When people tell you that Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, is the greatest Star Wars sequel of all time, they are lying to you. They forgot one important piece of information. Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back is one of the greatest movies ever made. So now let's talk about it! Star Wars, The Empire Strikes... Nope, from here on out, I am going by what it was called when it was originally marketed on the original poster. Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. And just so you know, I'm going to spoiler the shit out of this movie, so you have been warned. If you have not seen Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, why? But just so you know, spoilers are abound. So Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back takes place 3 years after the events of the original Star Wars movie. Yeah, it's still called Star Wars. And the Galactic Empire, led by the villainous Darth Vader and the mysterious Emperor Palpatine, are on a manhunt for Luke Skywalker. They know he's the one who blew up the Death Star. They're on a manhunt for him and all the other rebel alliances. So they go after his friends, Han, Chewie, and Leia, and they try to, figure out where he is while Luke goes on his own crusade to the Dagobah system to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi from Jedi Master Yoda. We'll get to him in a minute. In the end, Luke's friends get captured. He has to decide whether he wants to confront Vader or just, listen to Yoda, and yeah, he probably should have. You blow up the Death Star? Yeah, you're made. And this movie steps it up in every aspect. I'm not just talking about, story and, special effects. The special effects are a lot better because it's 3 years later. It was 1980, but seriously, the story, the character development, it's got that emotional grip that you're just like, what? You care for the characters, the dialogue is really well polished, and the action scenes are cool. Speaking of the action scenes, the whole beginning of this movie, the first 40 minutes are mind-blowing. They're on an ice planet called Hoth, and there's a battle. And it's the most amazing space battle in the history of cinema, the second coolest battle behind the Battle of Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. This is one of my favorite parts of the movie, and here is why. A, because it's awesome and fun to watch. B, because it's proof that you can take the most desolate, loneliest part of the planet or the galaxy, turn it into a cool battle when there's nothing around except for different kinds of machinery like the AT-AT walkers and all that. Throw all that into a desolate planet full of ice with nothing around and you turn it into something cool. Yeah, Michael Bay should have taken notes when he made Transformers 2 because that boring ass battle at the end of Transformers 2. Why am I talking about Transformers? What's wrong with me? And how did we get to Hoth? Because the Rebel Alliance has been driven out of their base by the Galactic Empire on Yavin 4, and they've retreated to Hoth to hide from the Empire. Good use of using Hoth, right? Also for a battle. And the Battle of Hoth is so cool. The AT-AT walkers, they just walk so slow. They're like huge-ass, four-legged robots. Granted, I can't get down on 4 legs because that doesn't look right, and I don't have 4 legs, I have 2 arms and 2 legs, but I'm not gonna do that. But that's what it's like, and they take those out, they pull them down with cables, you're like, where the fuck did you get those? Those are awesome! Now, it is here on Hoth that I guess George Lucas added in a scene that wasn't in the theatrical release, and it was actually a really good scene. It's something I agree with. I feel like The Empire Strikes Back, with all the scenes that are added into The Empire Strikes Back, there's not many, but pretty much all of them I agree with. This one especially, because you get to see the Wampa for the first time. This is before the Battle of Hoth. Luke is stuck in a cave, and there's this big, giant ice monster. Well, he's just a monster, but he's not made of ice, but he lives in an ice cave, so he's technically an ice monster. He eats, the remains of animals, and Luke's like, oh shit, I'm gonna be eaten. So what does Luke do? Takes out his lightsaber and smashes the thing's arm off. Yeah, good thinking, Luke. This is a scene that I'm glad, I guess it wasn't in the original cut. I never saw the original 1980 cut. I want to see it if it's still out there. But this is a scene that I'm glad was added in. If this wasn't, I feel like if this wasn't in the movie, you really wouldn't get an idea of what Hoth is like, what lives on Hoth, like where these things live, what kind of beasts or people or whatever kind of creatures or aliens inhabit the planet Hoth, and you get that when with the scene with the Wampa is added into the movie. So I'm glad that George Lucas added that in. And it's like, even when they're on Hoth, Vader is like, alright guys, let's go down there. Let's go find Master Luke. Because he blew up the Death Star and we need to kill him. Which is where the special edition kind of screwed up. Because in the special edition, Vader knows that Luke blew up the Death Star. He knows that Luke's alive. But in the special edition, the Emperor is now a whole new actor. He's played by Ian McDiarmid from the prequel. If Vader doesn't know that Luke is now alive, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Especially since the opening crawl of the movie stated that Vader was specifically going after Luke Skywalker. So how he doesn't know that Luke Skywalker is alive, I will never know. I don't know what went into that change. George Lucas must have been like, oh, it would make sense, to know that he's alive when he reveals himself as his father. Something stupid like that. Oh yeah, spoiler alert, that's coming. Ultimately, Vader fails to capture Luke on Hoth, and while he was on Hoth, Luke had a vision of Obi-Wan coming down in spirit form telling him, hey, if you really want to become a Jedi, you gotta go to the Dagobah system, find Jedi Master Yoda, and train with him to learn the ways of the Force and how to become a Jedi. So ultimately, that's what Luke does. He's like, you know what, guys, you can go on your own campaign. I'm going to Dagobah. Peace out. See you later. And that's what I like. Everybody's kind of on their own campaign in this movie. Luke's got his thing to do. Han, Leia, and Chewie got their own thing to do. Yeah, it's fun. Makes it for more character development and screen time with other characters. So with Luke off on his own quest, Han Solo brings the rest of the group to Bespin, which is like this city in the clouds. It's like a gas mining colony or something like that. Bespin is run by Han Solo's old friend Lando Calrissian. First black man in space. I don't care what those stupid NASA reports say. They are wrong. They are lying to you. The first black man in space, everybody knows, is Lando Calrissian. So you can suck on that, NASA. Guy in space. He plays Lando Calrissian. Lando is probably the second most badass character in the Star Wars saga behind Han Solo. He's like Han Solo's equal. It's like hinted at. I don't think they specifically stated. I'm trying to remember. But it's hinted that he once used to pilot the Millennium Falcon. He and Han are really good friends, and here's the thing with Lando Calrissian. When Lando Calrissian comes on the screen, this is what everybody's thinking. Wait a minute. So we have not only one, but two smugglers? Is this day gonna get any better? Yep, it definitely is. Sorry, his picture's just kinda, there's the black stuff on the side, which I don't like, but that's the best way to get it on the screen. However, Lando betrays Han and his friends. He's like, yep, I'm leading you to Darth Vader. Ultimately, Bespin is a trap set by Lando, oriented by Vader so that Vader can get to Luke. So Boba Fett takes them into custody. He takes Han to this deep freezing carbonite chamber that Vader has set up. Vader wants to freeze Luke, but he doesn't want to do it on Luke. He wants to make sure that it works first. So he's going to use Han as a... And the thing about this whole process is that everybody gives Lando shit, but you don't really know what Lando was threatened with.
Vader could have just been like, okay, Mr. Calrissian, I'm going to take out every man, woman, and child in the galaxy, just like I did to Sand People in Attack of the Clones. And they are gonna not like it. They will all be wiped out. Pretty soon you will be wiped out, so you follow through on my plan. And then I will go get Skywalker. If you don't follow through, I will kill you as well.
At that point, I would feel like Lando would be like, ah, shit, I have to do it. And this is a really good part of the movie. For one reason, Han Solo is now going to be frozen. He loves Leia. Leia is his love interest. They kiss and they embrace, and probably the greatest line in Star Wars comes out. After Leia professes her love for him, she's like, yeah, I love you. This is what Han Solo said. I know. Probably the greatest line in Star Wars history. Originally, in the original script, Han Solo was supposed to say, I love you too, but Harrison Ford felt like Han Solo wouldn't say that, so the director, who's not George Lucas, he's like, you know what, I'm Irvin Kershner, I'm not George Lucas, we're gonna keep it in here because that was cool. And it was one of the best moments in Star Wars ever. However, we gotta talk about Luke's mission to Dagobah, because Luke goes to Dagobah with one of the gay robots, you know, R2-D2. Goes to Dagobah to go train with the Master Yoda. He gets to Dagobah, he crashes his X-Wing fighter, and he's like, oh shit, I'm shit out of luck. And he's whining. That's all he's done for the past 2 movies, is whine like a little bitch and a little brat. He can't figure out how to get his X-Wing pilot up, and R2-D2's trying to help him, and he's still flipping out, and then this little green guy comes over, and he's like, please, I mean you no harm. He might be trying to help you, and he's going through all this shit, like, flashing a light in his eye. At this point, Luke is, like, flipping out, because he is determined to find the Master Yoda. He's like, dude, I gotta find this Master Yoda, and Yoda just looks at him, and he's like, found someone you have. Yoda is, like, an iconic symbol of Star Wars. Everybody loves Yoda. Even if you don't love Star Wars, you love Yoda. For instance, my mother doesn't like Star Wars. She doesn't like sci-fi stuff. She doesn't like Star Wars. She loves Yoda. Just ask her. She loves Yoda, dude. Like, you can tell every time I'm watching Star Wars, she doesn't watch it, but she watches all the scenes with Yoda because she thinks he's like the most adorable thing ever. And if she could have a pet, it would be Yoda. I swear to God. If she could have a pet, it would be Yoda. And if she could have another pet, it would be Dobby from Harry Potter. She's even got a Yoda pillow. So yes, apparently mothers love Yoda because he's so adorable and you just want to hug him. So he's training with Yoda, and Yoda's got him doing all this weird shit with the Force, and he can't do it. And Yoda has one of the greatest quotes ever here. He's like, do it or not, there is no try. But Luke gets this sudden feeling. He's like, oh my god, my friends are in trouble. I gotta go up to wherever they are and go and rescue them. And Yoda's like, no, that's a bad idea. Don't do it. You're not ready. And then Obi-Wan's spirit comes down. He's like, you know what? I've been haunting the Dagobah system, waiting for you to arrive just to tell you that Yoda is right. Don't do it. But Luke is hasty. He wants to go. He knows he wants to go. But Yoda's trying to convince him. He's like, dude, I've trained every Jedi except Qui-Gon Jinn. I don't get why. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. He trained every Jedi except Qui-Gon Jinn. Come on. Anywho, he's like, well, you know, I've trained every Jedi but one except Qui-Gon Jinn, which still doesn't make any sense, but I know that you're not ready. If they were ready, I would have told them. You are not ready. So what does Luke do? Yeah, he goes. What an idiot. Which brings him to Bespin, and he is going to kill Darth Vader, and here comes one of the best cinematic scenes ever made, and probably the best lightsaber fight ever in the history of Star Wars. So Luke gets the Bespin. He goes to confront Darth Vader in that, like, freezing carbonite chamber room thing where he froze Han Solo and was taken away by Boba Fett. Now he's in there and
Obi-Wan has taught you well, but you are not a Jedi yet.
Luke whips out his lightsaber, Vader whips out his, they're going to duel. And here is why this is probably the greatest lightsaber fight in the history of Star Wars. And one of the greatest cinematic scenes of all time. Luke whipping out his lightsaber first shows that he is hasty, shows that he is in the mindset to kill Vader. He is there to kill Vader. He wants to do it, get it over and done with. Something that I feel like this lightsaber fight has that other lightsaber fights, especially the ones in the prequels, don't, is the fact that this lightsaber fight has tension, there's conflict, there's really good dialogue. You can definitely feel the conflict budding in Luke, and you can feel the conflict sort of budding in Vader as well. The other ones, especially Attack of the Clones, I feel like there's just gotta be a lightsaber fight to have a lightsaber fight. I'll talk about that more when I talk about the prequels, but at least in this one, it's just like there's reason behind the dialogue, there's reason behind the fighting, there's reason for the tension in this lightsaber fight. So when you're watching this, you're just like, oh my god, he is gonna like get his ass kicked, he does. Luke is so hasty, he's swinging with 2 hands, and Vader's just blocking his attacks with like 1 hand. He's like, yeah, you're no match for me. What the hell are you trying to prove? Luke even falls into like that freezing chamber that Han was in. Vader just uses the Force to like put the freezing stuff on him, and Vader's just like,
all too easy.
And this is one of the reasons why I love this lightsaber fight over all the other lightsaber fights in the saga, because there's tension here. You feel like it's not choreographed, like it's not too fast, it's not too slow. They're not just swinging their lightsabers around just to be a light show or make pretty sparks for the... There's tension here. It feels like a game of cat and mouse. The best way for me to describe it, if this makes any sense at all, it probably won't, but I'm going to say it anyways. Pretty much this lightsaber fight is Luke's skills versus Vader's knowledge. Like I said, that might not make any sense whatsoever, but to me, it's knowledge is better than skills. Skills are down here, knowledge is up here, and that's what Vader has, and that's what makes him a methodical bad. Especially when he's throwing all that shit, he's got his lightsaber out and he's just like doing this with his lightsaber, like using the Force and shit, and Luke's just being a dumbass and just everything that comes at him, he's just swinging with his lightsaber trying to break it. I'm like, that's not gonna do anything. And Vader just follows him. He's like, you know what? I know you're not a Jedi, so why don't I just make everybody's life worse, including yours, and chop off your hand. Goodbye, lightsaber. Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at the most monumental part of Star Wars, probably the biggest, impactful scene in Star Wars. Vader is talking to Luke. Vader tries to get Luke to help him overthrow the Emperor and kill him so that they can rule the galaxy like Obi-Wan said that his father was supposed to. This makes Luke mad and he's like, Obi-Wan told me enough. He told me you killed him. And Vader's just, no, Luke, I am your father. And Luke lets out a cry. He's like, no, that's not true. That's impossible. No! No! And here's how you know that Vader's a badass, because he's still trying to get Luke to side with him. He's like, see, we can rule the galaxy as father and son with no limits, no boundaries whatsoever. Just me and you ruling the galaxy. Like, still holding on to the pole, and he's like, you know what? I've had enough. After everything that has happened to me, I am out. Peace out. See you on the other side. And he just lets go and drops. Yeah, Luke tried to kill himself, and I wouldn't blame him. I mean, you know, he has been a whiner, and, you know, he's like, you know what? This is the best decision. So he gets caught by Leia. She brings him back into the Millennium Falcon. He gets a prosthetic hand, and they're both looking out. They're, like, on, like, some, like, hospital thing. They're, like, looking out, like, a window with the two gay robots that are with them, you know, C-3PO and R2-D2. They're looking out, they see like a galaxy and a galaxy, and that is how the movie ends. It leaves you on a big cliffhanger, and I bet everybody that was sitting in that theater in 1980 wishing for something to happen in that scene was probably like, that's how the... Did it just roll credits? That's how it ends? You have got to be shitting me. Shit you not, that is how the movie ends, on a cliffhanger. No one is in a good place. Big cliffhanger, nothing is resolved, you're just like, oh, what? The producers were like, yeah, how about that to think about? The producers were just like, you know what, yeah, how about that to think about? See you in 3 years when Return of the Jedi comes out. Smart move. So The Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie, in my opinion, and one of the best movies ever made. No one is going to argue with you about that. Probably the greatest coming-of-age story. If somebody tells you that 50 Shades of Grey is the greatest coming-of-age story, A, they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. B, just be like, you know what, you want a good coming-of-age story? Empire Strikes Back. Take that, stupid-ass Christian Grey purist. Everything is up a level. It's on a grand scale in this movie. The action is great. The dialogue is great. You have some memorable lines in this movie. The lightsaber fight. There's so much tension in this movie and so much like emotional like gripping in this movie. It grips your heart with jaws and nerves of steel. I got tongue-tied there, sorry. This movie is one of the greatest movies ever made, probably the greatest coming-of-age story ever. Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back is not only one of the greatest Star Wars movies ever made, it is also one of the greatest movies ever made in my top 5, and Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back is excelente. Remember, if somebody ever tells you that another like chick flick is the greatest coming of age story ever, nope. Always revert back to Empire Strikes Back and tell them they have to watch it. Even if they don't care, tell them they have to. Force them to. Because it is the greatest coming of age story. Alright, what is your favorite Star Wars movie? Probably ask that in my Star Wars A New Hope review, also known as my Star Wars review. I want to know again though, so whatever you thought, I want some feedback. Drop me a comment in the comment section below. And for more news and reviews on movies, movie trailers, video games, and TV shows, like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. If you're on YouTube, hit the big red subscribe button, and welcome to Maddenville.